Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, 1/35 scale modeler. Today on the bench I've got a classic that I picked up at the Tamiya shop in Shimbashi, Tokyo, and it's the 1/35 scale Sturmgeschütz III Ausf. It's the early kit version. This kit was released in 1995 and is the early version of the late war assault gun. You get over 220 parts, optional Schürzen side armour, you get two figures, and a choice of a 75mm or 105mm gun. Now, with this kit, there are known issues. These include inaccurate fender supports, missing superstructure weld beads, incorrect rear hull armour, and for those looking for a higher degree of accuracy, this will require aftermarket parts. But if you're into your armour, this is a straightforward kit and it will be right up your street. So starting with the box art, it's classic Tamiya really, just shows a great picture of the Stug III. Just a bit of background, the Stug III was Germany's most produced armoured vehicle during World War II. It was originally designed as an assault gun, but it ended up being an effective tank destroyer basically. So on the side of the box, you get the Stug Brigade 237 version. We've seen the side already. It just shows it's a 35197. On this side of the vehicle you get the Stug Brigade 303. This is a monotone yellow colour. You also get an image of the commander and the loader with their dog, some writing in Japanese, and just the same sort of art on the side here as well. So let's lift the lid and see what we get. So straight away, you can see that it's all neatly packed, typical Tamiya. There's no chaos in the box, and that's always greatly appreciated. So what do we get? So we get the instruction booklet, one set of sprues, a couple of other little documents there. So one set of sprues, another bag of screws, third bag of screws, vinyl tracks that we either love or hate, decals, and the whole tub with some string and some polycap. Okay, let's just have a quick look at the documents here. So this is the standard Tamiya tech tips. They just give you some hints on cutting parts, removing excess plastic, using the different types of cement or glue if that's what you prefer to call it. Test fitting is also something that should be considered, and there's some other parts about fitting metal plate and how you do different painting. Oh, they've given you a painting guide. So the Sturmgeschütz III Brigade of Wehrmacht, Norway in 1943. This is the colour here. Then you've got the 237th Stug III or Stug Brigade in Russia in 1943. They talk about different painting. You've also got the STUH unit 42. This is an unknown unit. It was in Italy in 1944. They then show you the two figures and what colours to paint those. And they also talk about applying decals. Okay, let's get onto the booklet. Just to confirm, this is the Sturmgeschütz III Ausf kit number 35197. It's part of their 1/35 military miniature series. You get a picture of the model. You get English, German, this looks like French, and then also Japanese. You don't get a sprue call out, but they do give you some cautionary notes and cover off again what sort of tools you need. And in this section of the build, they go straight into adding suspension arms onto the whole tub. They then need you to, or require you to add the support rollers to the whole tub, and this is where some polycaps will be needed. And then they require you to attach the muffler. Now when you're attaching the muffler on this particular version, it does look like nothing protrudes, so I would safely say you can go ahead and add that. On some other vehicles, like the Panzer, for instance, like the Tiger or whatever, the exhaust and muffler protrude slightly over the back of the engine deck, so you may want to add that a bit later when you're building that type of model, but on this one it looks fine. They go into wheel assembly, and you've got the wheel, an idler and a drive sprocket. These are then all attached to the lower hull onto the suspension arms and support rollers. They then talk about positioning the ventilator. So in this section you need to pay careful attention really. So default or B48 is a part that doesn't need to be glued to the upper hull deck. There's an indicator here with a little cement brush, and it's got a grey cross out. What they want you to do is hold this in position, mark where the vent port goes with a pencil, and then once you've done that you can safely remove this away and then glue your vent port in place. You then add on some tank tracks and a tank track holder. Continuing on to the upper hull deck, they need you to attach some hatches, some glacis plates in particular, and there's also an opportunity to add some photo etch again, and they do call it out, but they do say that it's all sold separately, so there's no photo etch in the kit. The radiator air outlet is then added, and I think there's further opportunity to add photo etch here as well, again sold separately. The gun mantlet then is put together, and then the gun barrel, and then you've got the 75mm or the 105mm, it depends on which one you want to use, and then you've got the cradle, and that sits in the mount. This then gets added to the interior of the hull of the whole tub, but in order to do that you need to temporarily attach the upper hull section here, and what they're doing at this stage is just asking you to hold it down with some tape just to get the right position in. Then you create the smoke dischargers and the vehicle light. Now the smoke dischargers come in two parts by the looks here. So you've got the main piece that would stick to the hull, and then you've got the actual canisters there. These are then fitted to the outside edge of the tank, and then you add on the top plate where the cupola is. This is one of the bits that is being called out as an issue on this kit, and I'll discuss that more when we're looking at the sprues. They then ask you to put together the vinyl tracks, and we know how they go together. The less said about that, the better. Further hull construction parts then, so spare wheels, jacks, shackles, barrel cleaner rod, the cupola, binocular port, vision port. And then all these pieces that you've made up separately are then added to the top of the vehicle, along with other pieces like cable, shovel, pry bar, wire cutters, the holders for the spare wheels, further hatches, and they show you some little pieces on how to stick these into the hooks that they've got there. Then there's further parts that are added to the upper hull, so this all creates a lot of interest, and if painted nicely, make the vehicle pop. So you've got some screws that will hold down the tyres there, you've got a jack block, the jack, axe, crank handle, machine gun shield, more wire, and then finally you've got the side armour support that gets added onto the vehicle, and they should then hold the side armour Schürzen, and then you've got some further bits of track to add on, and that's it really. That's the vehicle built. Okay, looks quite straightforward to be honest. So first of all, let's have a look at the hull. So the whole looks it's a nice tub. That's that piece there with the gun mantlet will be fitted with that block. It all looks very nice and crisp and clear. No issues regarding ejector pin marks or anything. You may want to remove this here and then gently sand it with a soft sanding sponge. And then once this is painted and done, you won't even know that's there. But yeah, lots of detail on the exterior there. So yeah, really nice. Let's have a quick look at these vinyl tyres. Vinyl tyres are what they say they are on the box, vinyl tyres. These are actually quite wide, really. Those. Right, let's have a look at some of these sprues. Wheels. So you've got the sprocket and the idlers. These are the wheels. Now there's some nice detail on these wheels. I don't know if you can see, but on these edges here, they've got some weld bead that are holding this hub to the metal rim. And if these are kind of painted and then dry brushed with a little bit of metal, these will pop nicely. The only thing I would say though, in order to achieve that, is you'll need to wind back a little bit on the weathering and dirt material on these to be able to see that. But that's obviously a choice for you. But other than that, these look really nice. These are some of the tracks that will be added to the upper hole area. Look really nice. These look like the pegs that will go into the spare wheels that are then driven in, or look like big screws really that go in and hold the spare wheels onto the top of the structure. So you've got some swing arms, you've got some cable ends, shackle. But yeah, really nice detail, very crisp. No issues with ejector pin marks, or if there are any, they're well hidden and out of view. But as with Tamiya, always excellent. And this is the same really for the other side. Idler, sprocket, wheels, those pegs, more cables, shackle, pegs again. Some covers there. These look like the parts that will be used for the smoke dispenser, but all good. You can see actually that the ejector pin marks are actually on the sprue. So they've thought carefully about how to get these off so there's no real issue with the parts. That reduces cleaning, which I think is really clever. But yeah, excellent. Really good. So onto this sprue. So this one here will be part of the gun mantlet. That's that part that will fit into that whole tub here. Must probably go in that way. And then this peg here will then pop into there. You can see here you've got your shovel. There's those binoculars for viewing. Crank handle, axe. This looks like some kind of grip for the barrel. Some more tools here. Cleaning barrel cleaner. Another heavy blow hammer. These are your barrels there. Got figure here. Figures look really good actually. A little bit of cleaning to be done on the back there. But a nice little sanding sponge, and that'll be gone. Ejector pin marks, not really, very hidden. But this looks like this has got to be glued onto the front of the tank, so you won't even see this. Nice detail there, you know, bolts. Some nice detail here. This must be part of the glasses plate. Part of the barrel there. These look like those smoke canister launchers that sit on top of the but again, great detail. I can't see anything here that would trouble anyone. Yeah, really nice. I mean this has to be cleaned up a bit, but it's not major. There's a little dog in its head. But other than that, yeah, really nice. This is the Schürzen plate. Now, I think these must have been fitted separately, so I might be inclined to separate these out, and you can do that with a fine saw, because if one plate is damaged, they wouldn't want to replace the whole lot, they just want to slide a new bit on. So that might be something you want to consider. These are the side plate holders, and then these are the brackets that would be attached to the side of the tank, so that these could be attached. You got the machine gun plate, the machine gun itself, some more hooks, and another barrel. This is the short one. But again, everything seems to be nicely printed or moulded. You've got some ejector pin marks here which are very fine, and these will need to be dealt with. So a very minimal amount of filler on that. Once that's cured and gone once it's cured and gone hard, maybe 24 hours, soft sanding sponge just to get that back to sort of a smooth, so that when it's painted it won't show, less visible. But yeah, really nice. And this is the whole top. So this is the back of the engine deck. Now apparently they're saying that this creation is actually, or this version is actually not correct, but I think to balance this out, you could get some stowage bits to put on top of that, hide all that, and you'd never know. On this piece here, this is just in place to protect this in transit. This will need to be removed, but you can see from the detail here, really nice and crisp, you know, excellent. Ejector pin marks in the right place, just here and here. I'd probably want to do something with those in case in a diorama the vehicle was high or whatever, just so if you want to see them, but other than that it should be okay. Now I believe this is the offending article. This is a much later version of the Stug III top, and although it's been I think it's called the frühe version, isn't it, this one? Let's have a look. Yeah, the frühe version. Frühe means early, I think. So essentially what they're saying is this is wrong. So for instance, you can see here it's got these raised bolts. On the early version that would have been countersunk, so technically all of those could be removed and sanded back. I think this is a lot flatter, so you know, you could mess about with this and get this looking right, or you can just leave it, because this will fit this section here. You can get a resin part for it, but you'll need to do a lot of test fitting and sanding to make sure it fits well. I think for a more complex solution, I think the Dragon kit has got a spare one of these tops, and it's the correct version for what we need for this. So you could use that, but again, that's a lot of sanding and dry test fitting, so that's really up to you. I personally might just stick with this and just maybe mess about with these a little bit and make it a bit less visible. You've got some nice hatches here, covers. These are some ventilate hatches here, and I think this is where they're saying that you could actually fit here some of that photo etch, so you get like a mesh effect on there, so that would be quite helpful. All the ejector pin marks are in the right place, so that's okay. This is that piece that they're asking you to not glue to here, but you slide this in to get that port. I'm not even sure this is needed, but we'll see. And then you've got the jack to be made up. Some nice detailing here as well, so when you're dry brushing and weathering, this should look really nice. These are the sort of struts. All in all though, really nice, crisp, not much clean up, nice paint. It's typical Tamiya to go together. Now they got this string. That's what they're offering for the wire. Some people might want to use wire. These are the poly caps that you'll need for the wheels. Right, decals look clean and crisp and will easily slide on. Now there's a bit of text here. Young halt fast. I think that stands for young men, or the young hold fast. And that will go on the back of the vehicle, probably somewhere like there. But that's quite, yeah, just shows you, doesn't it? The young hold fast. So these were young people using these vehicles. It's quite sad, really. Young hold fast, young men stand firm, potentially. Yeah. But yeah, decent. You know, not much in the way of decals, to be honest. So this is exactly what you'd expect from Tamiya. Clean moulding, straightforward engineering, and to be honest with you, quite a relaxing build. Of course, as mentioned, the kit has known issues where the superstructure roof features bolts instead of the screws. So from a historical accuracy perspective, you're going to want to do some work on this part here. I think the interlocking piece at the back here is not quite right, but like I said, you could hide that with stowage. Photo etch sets are available, so if you want the correct fenders and supports, you can add that as messing detail as well. And as I mentioned about this top pit here, you can get a donor part from maybe a Dragon kit or a resin, but you know, that's a complex solution. On the other hand, you know, cut these off, soft sand sponge, and you're sorted. I think that's what I'm going to stick to. And then obviously this is going to be a great canvas for all that weathering and fine detailing. That's it really for this unboxing. Drop a comment if you've built this kit before, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you thought about this top piece here and how it fitted in there, and whether you went for anything on this, you know, in terms of stowage. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.